This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet world, West Alabama. How we doing today on this Friday on the Joe Gaither Show? Thank you guys so much for joining us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, or for joining us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. We are going to have a lot of fun in the Derry Daniel State Farm Studios. We are live in the Derry Daniel State Farm Studios right off of McFarland Boulevard. Call Derek and his team for all your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. And we're going to have a lot of fun with my buddy Mason Woods. You follow Mason Woods at MAWoods_. He and I just recorded a fresh episode of All Things Bama podcast, so we encourage you to go out there and listen to that. That's Mason's project. He's picked up All Things Bama podcast, so if you're looking for a little supplemental coverage, it leaves you an extra hour or so a week of Bama content to take in. Mason, good episode this morning. How we doing?
Doing good. Yeah, we talked about some good stuff this morning, got into some fun topics. I'm excited to get started on this one, though. I think we maybe have some even more fun things to talk about.
Yeah. What do I want to talk about today? What do we want to talk about today? We spent some time in the Hank Crisp indoor facility yesterday. We will be spending some time over in Coleman Coliseum here in just a little bit to hear from head coach Nate Oates as it is Creighton Hate Week. Mason, I sent a text into a group last night. I said, anybody got any questions for Coach Oates? Because the only question in my brain is, Coach, Joe Gaither, BamaCentral.com, did Trevor Relaford get fouled?
You know, I think it's a valid question. I think Nate Oates would have a good answer. You know, he definitely, I think, is fully aware of that, and he was probably watching it, I bet, if I had to guess. So he definitely knows the history of this Creighton rivalry. I think he's I do think Nate Oates is probably aware that there is at least a swath of Alabama fans that hate the Creighton Blue Jays. I don't know that he quite maybe realizes how much those fans hate the Creighton Blue Jays, but I would think surely he's at least a little aware. So, that seems like an appropriate question. How would be all right with it.
What is it? Basketball only Gump, isn't it? No, what is it? They call it Bogs for football only Gumps, Bogs for basketball. How would the basketball only Gump rate Creighton as far as it falls with Auburn, with Arkansas, with Tennessee, with Kentucky? Where's Creighton falling in that group?
From everything I have gathered, I think they're right in there in the fold with those teams. I think, and you might even be able to throw Houston in there. I think over the last couple of years that's maybe developed, considering the last time they came to Coleman Coliseum, you did have the kicking over the trash cans and things that left a bit of a sour taste, I think, in a lot of those Bogs mouths. I think if you asked any of them, Creighton would be right up there with Auburn, right up there with LSU. Or really just Will Wade.
I'm excited about tomorrow night in Coleman Coliseum.
It's going to be raucous.
Be hearing from Nate Oates, and you can watch it on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. Really, all the press conferences that we are at are right there for any sport that we're at. We appreciate everybody for watching us right there. We got, up to 7,000 subscribers on the BamaCentral YouTube channel. That's great. When I first started a year and change ago, almost 2 years ago now, Mason, we were at like 3,400, somewhere in there. So almost double now. So here we go. We're making it happen. I want to start today with football, because football carries all the load here. We spent some time yesterday. Which comment do you want first? Because I've got thoughts on 3 different comments from 3 different players. Jihad Campbell talked about missing the college football playoff. Parker Brailsford talked about his plans for next season, and Damani Jackson didn't overtly talk about his plans for next season, but I think sneakily told us all what he will be doing as well. So which guy you want to start with, Mason Woods?
Let's start with what is, I think, maybe my favorite of the bunch. Let's start with Damani Jackson.
Damani Jackson gave, his usual self. What was his usual self with the media yesterday? So we got about 7 or so minutes with Damani, and thank you for your time, Damani, if you watch this. But he never really says a whole lot. I asked him about getting left out of the playoff. He kind of was, well, it is what it is. We're moving on. I asked him about focusing on Michigan. Well, we're trying to play as good as we can. We're just doing the things we can. Like basically all the canned answers.
I mean,
that you would get. I asked him about opt-outs. Do you think, are you opting out? Do you know of any opt-outs? And he kind of, I think we'll all be. I think most people are. He kind of gave a vague, kind of most people are going to play answer. But then the interesting thing happened. Damani Jackson was asked about Chuck McDonald and Dijon Lee. And if you're not familiar with the recruiting game, then that's A-OK. They're two guys in the 2024 or 2025, 2025 recruiting class. So they will be incoming freshmen next year. Well, really in the next couple of weeks, as they're going to be early enrollees. Chuck McDonald is out of Mater Dei, which is Damani Jackson's school. Sabian Brown out of Mater Dei as well. And Dijon Lee is out of Mission Viejo, California. So I think they really they all knew each other. They all, obviously, three of them played in the same high school system together at different points or came up in different points. He was asked about the two, and he gave nice reviews from Chuck and he called him Dijon Lee. Gave glowing reviews. But then they asked about, what's your best piece of advice? He gave, nice little, come in, work hard, just be you, that sort of thing. And then he talked about next year, 4 Cali corners in a room together. 4 Cali corners in a room together.
That's my gears turning.
And look, I think Damani, he's viewed very highly on this show. Mason loves him. I think he's a great player. I think that the tape has revealed that he is a really good player as well. I think that NFL fans, NFL scouts, NFL GMs and owners might be thinking about a Damani Jackson type in this coming spring's NFL draft, but it sounds like he told us yesterday that he's putting that off for another year.
If that is the case, I think that is a massive, massive win for the Alabama defense. You look at we've talked about the players that they are that they stand to potentially lose, and the players behind them it's a lot of inexperience on this defense. So getting Damani back again, if that is the case, I mean, wow, that is tremendous for this defense. He is already probably, I think, the best cornerback on the team, but he comes back for another year. No one's questioning that he's the best cornerback on the team. He is the leader on that defense if he comes back for another year. I think he can, like you said, the 4 guys or the 3 other guys that he's familiar with, that he's basically grown up with in the California high school football system. I think he can very likely help lead those guys, help guide those guys, help them learn the position, help them learn the ins and outs of the SEC. So yeah, if Alabama can get him back, if Kane Womack and company can convince him to come back and can put off the NFL for just one more year, the Alabama's defense could be very, very special next year.
I thought when Damani came about this time last year, announced his transfer to Alabama that he'd only get him for 1 year, and obviously at that point I thought he was going to be going into a Coach Saban system.
To his credit, he did too.
I still think, like he said that yesterday, and obviously he knows, he lives it. He knows. He knows what information he's receiving. Yeah. But I think from an outside perspective, not that I would say you want to go to the NFL draft because I'd love to have him around as long as possible. He's a great player. I think that he'd still be viewed very, very highly if he went on to. I think it's going to be a big temptation. Even though he said that yesterday, I think you put on a good tape in the ReliaQuest Bowl and you get the right people. I don't know. I would love to have him back, but I think that he's going to be viewed as a pretty good little prospect.
I think so, certainly. I think, Nick Saban said it while he was coach at Alabama, with a lot of players. It's like, if you're going to be a probably 3rd round pick or up, go to the NFL. Go get in the NFL. But, if you're one of the guys like, I don't remember who the example was.
Ronnie Harrison.
Yeah, that's
Ronnie
right.
Harrison, 3rd round pick.
If you're Ronnie Harrison, or yeah, I guess so 2nd round picking up, maybe. But if you're Ronnie Harrison, you're bouncing around on the outskirts of maybe even being drafted. Maybe you're not going to be a premier guy at your position. That's when you really want to consider that extra year of college. Now, in Damani's case, I think he can be a premier guy at his position, if not, probably not into the number 1 overall. I think Will Johnson from Ohio State maybe has that locked up. Travis Hunter up there too is the best corner in this draft. But he is, I would imagine, viewed as probably a top 5, top 8 guy at his position in this draft, and that at cornerback gets you drafted fairly high. So he's going to have a lot of things to consider. I'm sure he's got some agents in his ear, probably telling him what the NFL guys are saying, maybe how they're viewing him.
What about his agents that say, here's what you'll make at Alabama for one more year and being with your buddies for another year?
With all of the money that they saved from not signing A.J. Debonsa this past week. redirect that towards a football program, get Amani a paycheck, or get Domani a paycheck, get him back in this defense for one more year. Because look, like I said, I think he is viewed very favorably by the NFL, and if he decides to declare for the draft, will be viewed very favorably. He'll test well, teams will love what he put on tape, and he'll be great. But you come back for one more year, you're the best corner in college football.
Yeah.
You are a top probably 8 to 10 draft pick if you're the best corner in college football.
That's a bigger bump.
That's a much bigger bump. On top of whatever is likely a very lucrative NIL deal you will sign if you do return for one more year. So, big picture here. I understand injuries are a concern. They happen. Knock on wood. I want Domani to stay healthy. But just think about it. You might stand to gain a little more by just putting the NFL off for one season.
So that was a nice little comment yesterday to piqued my ears, piqued my interest yesterday from Domani. Next comment. We talked about the playoff snub a lot, but this was the first time that we got to talk to Jihad Campbell or any of the players since the playoff decision. Jihad Campbell, what's your reaction to being left out of the playoff and going to the ReliaQuest Bowl? He comes out and does just plain and simple, it's on us.
Respect.
Can't blame the committee. Just all we can do is blame ourselves. Perfect.
Yeah,
I love it. I mean, there's not. I don't want to elaborate on it because that's what our attitude has been since the decision. That was our attitude going into the decision. Well, if it breaks our way, it breaks our way. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We've left ourselves in this position. Jihad Campbell's gone. He's going to be a first-round draft pick.
Yep.
He's
very likely to.
He's going to be at 15 to 40 in that range.
Yeah, I imagine he has a good day at the combine. Maybe he attends one of these Senior Bowl or something. He's probably pushing into that first round.
So he's not coming back, but man, I hope that I hope he's able to permeate that attitude through the building. I hope that. We heard several different Jihad Campbell leadership stories in the last couple of weeks. I think he's really come on in the last couple of weeks as far as, this is my voice. This is where I am. And maybe he always was. We didn't know that, but it's only come out in the last couple of weeks. But I think, he talks about, if you're not here to win championships, get out of here, this sort of thing. And then yesterday, it's on us for putting ourselves in this position. That's really refreshing for to hear, and I think encouraging going forward. I think a lot of people from the outside were wondering, does this Alabama team get it? Is this Alabama? Are they trying? Do they care? I think they absolutely cared.
Yeah.
And I think yesterday's statements from Jihad Campbell, it's on us, showed that we tried to put everything together and it just didn't happen.
Yeah,
I was happy to hear that. Really.
Yeah, it shows that the team does not have any bit of like entitled attitude that we're Alabama, we deserve to be where up at the top, because you're not handed anything. You have to earn everything in college football, and they did everything they could to earn their spot in the college football playoff this year, but you just came up short. You went to Norman and you laid it on the line, and you just didn't really show up. So it seems like maybe since that game, maybe a little before, like you said, we've seen Jihad really kind of be more vocal. Maybe I wonder if that was just a thing where he realized okay, this team has gotten away from me a bit. I need to really rally the guys in and lock them in for, not only the rest of this season, but what's going to happen after I leave.
So Jihad Campbell basically committing to play in the game, and we'll get to that. That's kind of my fourth thought. Third thought comes from Parker Brailsford. Parker Brailsford, Alabama center.
Snub.
Yes, snub for the Remington Award. I mean, congratulations, Seth McLaughlin. If you haven't seen it, Seth McLaughlin was named best center. Yes, that Seth McLaughlin was named best center in the country, given the Remington Award yesterday for his year at Ohio State. Congratulations, Seth. But Parker was a great played well. Played really, really well.
Exceptional.
Yesterday basically puts it all to bed. It says, yes, I'm coming back next year. I'm not going into the NFL draft. And was asked in 2 or 3 different ways about it. and said, elaborated about, I talked to my people, my family, that this is the best place for me right now to continue to develop. I need to put on more weight before I get to the NFL, this, that, and the other. Basically just affirming, yes, I'm staying and I'm coming back next year. You're losing Tyler Booker. But you get this offensive line that right now has Caden Proctor, Parker Brailsford, Jaden Roberts, and Elijah Pritchett all back. 4 of your 5 starters coming back next year at the moment. I think it's huge for Alabama, at least getting Parker back as you're breaking in a new quarterback, probably a new quarterback. I think this is a big deal for Alabama.
Yes, this is just as big a get for the offense as if Damani were to come back for the defense. This is that type of player coming back. He was instrumental in the success of Alabama's offensive line at times this season. He was probably him and Tyler Booker were right there neck and neck for the best 2 out there. I can't point to a single spot this season where it was ever Parker Brailsford's fault that something went wrong. He was just as consistent can be. Not only from a skill-wise standpoint, though, like from a leadership standpoint, getting him back is huge. Like you said, breaking in a new quarterback likely next year, whether it's going to be Ty Simpson, whether it's going to be Austin Mack, whether Keelan Russell steps up to the call and earns the job. You will be likely dealing with a new face in that offense, and having someone there like Parker Brailsford, who is already kind of comfortable with being that leader, is, I'm sure, going to help the quarterback get comfortable a lot faster than he would otherwise.
So I'm excited. That was our media availability yesterday. I guess Jalen Milroe was also made available.
I mean, it certainly sounded like he will not be returning.
That's what it sounded like as well. I just don't really get a whole lot out of Jalen Milroe's media availabilities. No. I like you, Jalen, and I will pretty much always defend you because I think that you get a lot of
bad rap.
Yeah, a lot of unfair things. No, you're not perfect. I will say that, but I don't always get a whole lot out of his media availabilities. I think that him this being his last game was kind of a foregone conclusion. Is kind of a foregone conclusion. I think that I don't want to say worn out your welcome because that's not quite really the case here, but I think that essentially, your watch is finished. You've put in good work, and the watch. Your time is done.
Yeah, you will always be remembered as the guy that carried the team through the coaching change.
Carried the team through the coaching change. I think people want to complain about 9-3 this year. What do you think it could have been if? What it could have been, you lose Milroe in the spring. Okay, some people are happy. We're playing Ty Simpson, roll Tide. All right, whatever. I'll give you that. You lose him. You don't get Caden Proctor back from the transfer portal. We're talking about right tackle problems.
Ooh-wee.
Okay, yeah, you don't get Caden Proctor back from the portal. Who else are you losing from this roster? I mean, you saw the guys you lost. You lost Trey Amos. You lost a lot of quality players. Yeah. But would Justice Haynes have been following Caleb Downs out the door?
Is Tyler Booker gone? If Milroe's gone, they seem to be, great friends with one another. That could have. I mean, I don't know that the snowball effect from that.
There's no Jeremy Bernard. Remember, you've lost Jermaine Burton and you've lost Isaiah Bonds already. There's no Jeremy Bernard coming. You don't know if you're getting Ryan Williams recommitted or not at this point. So your wide receivers are Kendrick Law, Emmanuel Henderson, Kobe Prentice, and
Rico
how do you
Scott?
think that works out? How do you think that works out? Really? How do you think that works out?
Yeah, he was instrumental in keeping this Alabama program afloat through this change. I saw it today scrolling through Twitter. I think, what was it, like 40 players hit the transfer portal last year, and there's no telling how many more it would have been had Jalen Milroe not committed to staying in Tuscaloosa. So nobody say a bad word about Jalen Milroe or I'll come fight you, because what he did here was incredible.
Yeah, we can talk about passing deficiencies and reading the defense deficiencies. Okay, we can have that discussion, and I'll concede probably a lot of points to you. But I think that
I don't think there's many people that could have done what he did with this team this
Yeah,
year.
really fulfilled a role that was a really difficult role
Mhm.
for a 22, 23-year-old to be thrust into. So
Yeah.
I'm really going to be thankful for Jalen's time. I'm going to try to soak up these last couple of weeks. Even though I don't get a lot out of his press availabilities, I will try to enjoy ourselves. See if I can crack him a smile.
Is that just the nature of the beast for guys like Milroe, like Damani, who since they were in high school have been 5-star recruits basically and like top tier players at their position? They've been doing interviews for 10 years at this point, essentially.
Maybe.
It feels like
I think it's this that with Damani, and I'm just exposing myself here. I think Damani doesn't trust us. I think Damani doesn't trust the media. Period.
Yeah,
that's what I get from him. I also think that Damani feels maybe overlooked by us, the media, because almost every time we're with him, we're asking about a different cornerback. We're asking about Xavier Brown, a freshman. Like, I don't know that he loves us. Sure.
Yeah.
With Jalen, I think it's image protection, image control. I think this is just what you get out of a quarterback.
You know, with Jalen, he's battling a lot of things being a quarterback. I think being the buttoned up, very proper guy in the media is a good look for him.
Yes. I mean, would you rather him talk like people talk about, and I talk about his robotic nature, but would you rather him say, "Oh, this receiver ran the wrong route," and I just, or man, I'm sorry, I lost that fumble. That lineman just didn't block that.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about some of the things people say about him now. Like the things that people would be saying about Jalen Milroe if he got unbuttoned and just let it fly in press conferences would be out of this world.
This could be a lot of fun the last couple of weeks. The last thing on the football side of things that I want to talk about, Mason, is kind of the general theme from all four of those guys, the opt-outs or lack thereof. You've seen, 10, 11 guys go in the transfer portal. We talked about Dylan Lonergan this week, and Keanu Coot got himself a new home. Good luck in Nashville. But outside of the transfer portalees, there has been no discussion of opt-outs. Very, very reminiscent of the 2019 Capital One Bowl, also against the Michigan Wolverines. Are we to take anything from this, or does it mean nothing at all? Is it, Alabama's so special, the culture, or what? What do you hear?
Yeah.
You come out of yesterday, it sounds like everybody's playing, and your thought is?
I do think it speaks a little bit to the culture of the program. I think, if you have a team where players feel that they are able to just, if they wish, not participate in a game where they are still a member of the football team, that doesn't necessarily speak a great message, I think, to everyone. Now, I understand the, injuries. I understand, I'm going to be a first-round pick, whatever. But I do think, and maybe this is just old school football brain in me. I think there's something to be said for, this coach was able to get his guys to commit for a game they don't actually have to play in. I think that's somewhat impressive.
Our friend Katie Wyndham put it to me this way yesterday for her just a minute. She did this topic. That's why I don't want to spend amazing points on it. But when Katie said this, I thought, well, duh, and I hadn't thought of it. So she said, well, Joe, I think when the number 1 and the number 3 overall pick decide not to opt out 4 years ago, it basically sets the precedent for the program that no one's allowed to opt out.
That's a pretty good point. That's a pretty great point. Yeah, I can't really concede that. That makes perfect sense. You saw Bryce Young play. You saw Will Anderson play. Both of them put it out. Both of them put it out there. So, fine with it.
Oh, I love it too. I love the fact that they're all at least available. You should to play or not to play should be up to one person.
Yeah,
Kalen freaking DeBoer. Not anyone. Not Jimmy 5-star or Johnny left tackle. Use generic names because I don't want to put that on anybody. But only Kalen DeBoer should be deciding who plays, how much, who's opting out, who's available. I mean, obviously injury, duh, you got it. But
yeah, they'll never make me be okay with opt-outs.
No,
I will be okay. I'm cool. I'm all in on transfer portal, all in on the NIL and everything. I'm all in for empowering players, but you'll never make me like opt-outs.
I'll never like it, but I'll also okay, Johnny 5-star opts out, and you got the people who talk about his character, this, that. I don't care.
No.
You opt out, go to the NFL. It's fine.
Yes.
It is an exhibition game, more or less. But I'd rather you play. I'd rather you be in. I'd rather you plug yourself into the program and say, I got 3 more weeks with the program. And,
I don't think that, an opt-out necessarily says anything bad, but I think that playing in the game does say something good.
1,000%. And I think that what I said to Katie will be likely. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's going to be set in stone, but I think it's very likely that some of these players that would have considered opting out, your Jahad Campbell, Tyler Booker, Jalen Milrose, your first round picks per se. Excuse me. I think that they will play, and I will think that they will play just into the second half. You get that first drive in the second half, and they get I bet Kalen DeBoer burns a stupid timeout, and at first he calls timeout, and everybody, why are you calling timeout? Why are you calling timeout?
Here comes Tyson.
And Jalen Milroe just gets his helmets off, waves to the crowd. I think that, and then you turn it over to Ty Simpson, Austin. You start getting them in. You start getting in turn it over to next year.
Yeah. How do we split that last bit of the game there? You give Ty Simpson the rest of the third quarter, then let Austin Mack take the fourth. That's what I'd like to see.
Am I in charge?
Sure. If I'm in charge,
plays the whole second half.
Yeah. Obviously,
we don't. Ty, have just keep the water full.
Keep your clipboard close. We're gonna ask you to come be a GA in a couple years.
Yes.
We'll want you on staff.
This is
football. I just think Austin Mack might be a little better at football.
Yes. This is throw Austin Mack into the deep end.
I would love that.
And sink or swim, buddy. If you sink, it's fine. It's an exhibition. We don't care. Ty Simpson's going to win the job in 2 weeks after. But if you swim, we never even have to deal with a transition year.
We got a juicy summer on our hands.
Exactly. That's what I would do.
Yeah, no, I love that. I would do the same. I do think we'll see Ty Simpson, obviously. Hopefully we get to see a lot of Austin Mack, though, because I am very excited about what he can bring to this offense. We have sung his praises on this show. We've sung his praises on the All Things Bama podcast. I've seen him getting a little bit of love on Twitter the last week or two. I saw somebody saying something about it. For the real ball knowers out there, Austin Mack's the man to watch, and I agree. I think for anyone really plugged in, Austin Mack is the man to watch for this quarterback spot.
Now, why the hell would a coach say, "I want to take this true freshman that hasn't played a single snap from Washington all the way to Tuscaloosa. I want this." Like, it's obvious. The writing is on. Like, Ty Simpson's going to have to beat that guy.
We talk about like AI quarterback. Austin Mack is like if you just asked a computer to build a quarterback for you, it'd pump out Austin Mack.
We were in the facility yesterday for our 15 minutes or whatever, and he's doing some post-practice
and he's looking down, talking to everybody. Hey, how are you? How are you? How are you?
It's like, holy smokes, you're tall.
Yeah.
Tall, wide
built in
shoulders.
a lab to play quarterback.
Yeah. Long arms, whippy arm.
Gets me excited about him and a Caleb
Gives me
DeBoer
palpitations. Seriously. Like, people have been daydreaming about Ty Simpson for the last 3 years. They don't know what a daydream looks like. Austin Mack, to me, exactly like you said, I'm going into Madden, I'm going into college football 25, and I'm saying, what do I want to make my quarterback look like? Yep, it's Austin Mack.
Every time. Yeah. I think he's going to be very special in this offense. And I hope we get to see it against Michigan. Just a smidge.
The whole second half, coach. Please. Just let it ride.
Austin Mack. You know what? Jalen Milroe, get him one drive. Send Austin Mack out there.
Hey, he and Ryan Williams got to start building that chemistry. Amen. Let's go.
That's what we need. Come on, coach. Do it.
Oh, man. Okay, before we transition and get on and close this bad boy down on Football Friday, we want to tell you about our friends, Purple Turtle Roofing. They're the most reliable residential roofing replacement company in Alabama and Mississippi. Whether it's addressing leaks, storm damage, or general wear and tear, Purple Turtle Roofing is going to be there to deliver exceptional roof repair for your property. They're the leading expert in local residential roofing solutions, specializing in providing unparalleled service and quality craftsmanship for all your roof replacement needs. Call Dustin Foley and his team today at 877-PT-ROOF-5 for your free roof inspection. That's 877-787-6635 to schedule your appointment, and one of their qualified employees will come check out your roof for free and make sure you're prepared for any and all of life's storms. Check them out online today at roofturtle.com. You can also check them out on Facebook. They were featured in a Northport Business magazine this past week. So congratulations, Dustin. They were on some of those hot social medias in local areas. We love that. Dustin Foley and Purple Turtle Roofing. All right, let's finish this bad boy up in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios. Call Derek and his team at 205-758-3391 for all your insurance needs. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. The Creighton Blue Jays. We spent a lot of time on the All Things Bama podcast with Mason Woods talking about Creighton and Alabama. So if you want to hear
dirty
a little more in depth, Mason gave us some of his keys to the game, and I really appreciate him doing that because it got my brain spinning a little bit today. We're going to hear from Nate Oates, and I'm thinking to myself, when was I more excited for a basketball game in Tuscaloosa? You had Houston come, you had Baylor come recently. The year where you played all those Final 14 from the prior year in town.
I will tell you personally, the time Trae Young came to town, I was so ready for that.
Herb Jones, who's your daddy?
Oh man, and it was personal. I did not like Trae Young. I was sick of hearing about him.
That was a hot crowd too.
Oh man, that was a great game. Oh, that was
morning
awesome.
game-ish, like 11 or 2 or noon. That was a hot crowd. Ooh.
That was a good game. I remember people chanting, scared of birds or something to Trae Young because his hair, man, good times.
I think tomorrow night's going to be one of the hotter nights in the last handful of years. And I'm hopeful. You see the ticket prices on SeatGeek. There's still some that are affordable, but it looks like the selection's pretty low. I'm hopeful that people are excited tomorrow. You get a great matchup with Ryan Kalkbrenner and Cliff Amore. Now, these guys played against each other, Rutgers and Creighton, before in the Big East. But this isn't the same Rutgers team that you lost to last year. They've had a little bit of a rough stretch. Now they ended up beating Kansas as well. So they've got a good win on their resume.
Yeah, got out to a decent start and I think lost 3 straight and then kind of bounced back a little bit the last couple games. So, I wouldn't say they're like super hot right now, but that win against Kansas is big. However, it's starting to maybe look worse by the day because Kansas also went on to lose to Missouri in the border war, but we'll see.
Creighton lost to A&M 77-73, and that's going to be maybe my most comparable. Like obviously Alabama and A&M are not the same, but Alabama has played Texas A&M a lot of times. I think your keys to the game were really, really good. And so I want to encourage everybody to go and download the All Things Bama podcast to listen to Mason's 3 keys to the game. I'm not going to elaborate on them at all because you need to hear that from Mason, really. But I think the biggest thing outside of those 3 that you gave us is the starts of each half. Well, do you think it's the starts of each half or the close of each half? Because I think, coaches talked about the middle 8 a lot, and maybe it is just the middle 8.
It might just be that middle 8.
Because you close the last 4, you open the next 4. Like, we've seen Alabama this year just sucker punch somebody and knock them out in the first little bit, and then they let them back. They lull, and they let the opponent come back into the game. They lull, they let them come back. I think Alabama's going to the crowd's going to be really, really on fire tomorrow night. And I think they're going to come out really well. I think the team's going to come out really well. But you can't, after the crowd dies down at the 12-minute mark or so, at the 14-minute mark in the first half, where, okay, we have exhausted all of our initial adrenaline. We're sitting down for the first time. And
waiting for something to happen to react
and it's just the students standing up. Because the students will. Commit them, they will. They'll be up the whole time. But the rest of the crowd, that's what I mean. When everybody else sits down for the first time, the team has to keep turning the screws, and you cannot let up. Because Creighton's a mature basketball team. They're going to try to dig back into this. Maybe it's not the first of each half. It is just the middle 8.
Yeah, I think, when you look at the way that these two teams like to play, Creighton likes to slow you down a little bit. This feels like, just given what we've seen from Alabama, this feels like all right, we're going to get out to a 10 to 15 point lead in the first 12. And then in the back 8 of the first half, we'll let Creighton get, back within 5 or 6. And then you go into halftime and it's like, okay, we went in on a 2-10 run or something. We got to come out and play hot in the second. Maybe they come out and do it. It feels like we've begun to maybe see a bit of a pattern with Alabama basketball doing that this season. And it's still early enough in the year to where if you can turn things around, if you can fix that, nip it in the bud, it's not going to become a pattern. We're only 10 games in. You got a lot of games left to play. You got a lot of very, very hard games left to play against teams who will absolutely take advantage of any bit of lull you give them, any bit of leeway you give them. So that is, I think, like you said, that's very, very important for Alabama to overcome. And I don't even think it's not a skill thing. It's just it's like a personality, effort thing. Just get out there and play a full 40.
One thing, and I did talk about this on All Things Bama, that I am very excited about is it sounds like tomorrow night will be the return, or the debut, we should say, the debut of Chris Youngblood, transfer from USF, South Florida. Apparently was just making it rain in practice this week from beyond the arc. And with the loss of Latrell Wrightsville, I think that you get him back and he becomes the player that you heard about in the summer. I don't want to say Alabama will be fine, but yeah, Alabama might be fine if he comes out and performs to his ability.
Yeah, I mean, what he can do being that perimeter kind of spot up guy who can just have the ball kicked out to him and be a consistent option from three. That's kind of what Latrell gave this team. And you lose that, you bring somebody else in with a similar skill set. I don't really think there's any reason this team should miss a beat.
So, Mason, let's get out of here because it's going to be a big weekend right here at BamaCentral.com. We are going to be really all over this Alabama-Creighton basketball game tomorrow. We're going to talk to Nate Oates here in just a little bit, so pay attention to the Bama Central YouTube channel for that. And you can find us always on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon. Tell a friend about the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com, as we are growing by one each and every day. My buddy Dan Levitard would say, when you have 0 listeners, and you gain 1 listener, you're growing fast.
Hey.
And so there we go. We'll get out of here for the day. We'll be back and talk to you again on Monday right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and Bama Central.